So I have a novel that's on Amazon. It's a Kindle edition. It's called How to Disappear Completely. And right now I'm just gonna read the first chapter as far as it gets me within like the time limit of this video, which is about 15 minutes, I believe. So I'm gonna read until that time limit is met and at least give you a sample of what my book is. Okay, so just to set this up, there's two narrators and they're both women and in their early to mid 20s. The first one is Moira, and this is chapter 1. People assume that when someone wants to disappear, they just want to curl up in the fetal position and rock back and forth and cry. They want to believe that this is what people do in isolation. It's the equivalent of sticking fingers in your ears and saying blah blah blah. It's a way to annoy everyone out of your life. That is not what I mean by this. People also assume that because you are antisocial, you hate people. That's not true either. I find people very interesting. I just don't like to engage with them. I don't want to stop living either. I just don't want to live as much as some people. Maybe I'm saying it wrong, but if I am, it doesn't matter. This is how I think. It all comes out so strangely, and I don't know where it begins. People think that I became this way after what Richard did to me. In truth, I was always like this. It almost seems the same way when someone dies. We don't remember exactly who they were, but we imagine and only remember or imagine remembering the good things. Even if they were horrible people, in death, since it's all over anyway, and there's nothing left to say to them, some people become almost saints. So don't believe what they say about me. I didn't come back as someone else. I've always been quiet and off kilter, always. My own parents don't remember it the same either. When I was a teenager, they assumed it was some kind of phase, that wasn't the real me, and then it happened, and then that became the reason for who I was. It's not that there's no truth to their assumptions, but it's not the whole story. I know most people know that it's not always that simple, but they always tend to forget. We love to pinpoint things down to a certain area and say, there it is, that's the answer to this situation. And we like to fixate it on it that way. I've been guilty of it with others, of course. I'm not a bitch, just so you know that, too. But there's a song by Regina Spektor that pops in my head when I wake up. It's in those moments when I'm just lying in bed a minute before my 6 o'clock alarm goes off. In those moments, I'm laying the needle down on the record in my mind, and this fraction of a millisecond passes, and her piano chords ring out at the start of the song, and then my alarm goes off. It's always so synchronized, and then I wake up. Well, I was already awake, but I'm really waking up at this point. I'm in a sitting position, letting out this monstrous yawn, and I stretch my hands over my head, and this horribly chill breeze rolls in that somehow bypasses the glass in my window and makes its way to me. It kind of slithers over my exposed belly button, and it tickles, and I shiver. And I hop out of bed, and I bend over, and I look at my painted toes that my niece did for me over a few weeks ago. The pink nail polish is already all chipped away, but there are still a few remnants. It makes me smile to see it, because I see her silly 4-year-old face with that jar of her mom's polish, and she's just so oblivious that she's doing it wrong, just happy that I'm letting her do it at all. Once I've got that good stretch in, I make my way to the kitchen and I prepare a pot of coffee on the hand-me-down coffee maker my mother gave me. Remember the Black Friday a couple years ago? She just had to have it. We stood in line for 2 hours for it, but then when the New Year came around, she found another one. I, of course, got the Black Friday one. My mother has this habit of calling me exactly when the memories come back to me about why I don't want to see her. The phone rings and she's the only one who calls me at 10 o'clock at night. Usually it's after her and my father get into a fight, and she's had a couple glasses of red wine. She always apologizes first and remarks that she is sure what she has done wrong this time, that I can't be bothered to answer the phone. It's never anything she's done now. It's just always what she did years ago, or what she's going to do when I see her. It's easier for her to live in a delusional world where she's a victim and I'm an oppressor. Her the saintly mother and I the ungrateful daughter. It probably should be the other way around. Her the ungrateful mother and I the saintly daughter. However, I don't consider myself a saint. That'd be giving me too much credit, and the skeletons in my closet wouldn't like it. Eventually I call her after I listen to the voicemail, and she's so happy I called. And the morose tone evaporates, and she slurs her drunken words. She tells me she loves me, but doesn't really notice that I don't say it back. I do love my mother, but it's such a mechanical way that she goes about saying it, as though it's supposed to be said and not because she really means it this time. That's why it doesn't matter that I don't say it back. While I'm in the shower, that Regina Spektor song is still playing, and I hum along to it, because I don't remember the words. I think the song is called Patron Saint. In fact, I'm nearly positive that's what it's called, and it plays while I brush my teeth. I like gritting my teeth when I brush, and I like staring into the mirror so as I do the back and forth motion while the bristles scratch that plaque gunk. I look like a rabid dog that's foaming at the mouth, sometimes even growl at my green-eyed freckled reflection. Anything to amuse myself. Usually me is all I got. I like my freckles. I used to not like them. Not sure if other people feel the same way, I never asked, but I used to hate them. I find them endearing now. What I don't find endearing is this horrid-looking frizzy red towel that's wrapped around my hair. It's another hand-me-down household item my mother gave to me when she got her annual news set for Christmas. The coffee pot crackles and drips on the counter a bit when I get into the kitchen every morning. I know it's going to happen, but I usually take no extra precautions to fill the water any less. Maybe I subconsciously want it to spill over a bit so I have something to do. If that were true, I'd truly be a depressing spectacle. And for the record, I don't really like coffee. I'll drink it, but I usually need creamers and lots of sugar. Not just a couple spoonfuls. I usually just pour it in until the coffee almost nears the brim of the cup. Half the time the cup overflows and I have another mess to clean up. It probably occurs more than half the time and I never learn to change the routine. Breakfast usually consists with a piece of toast with butter spread on it. By butter I mean vegetable oil spread. There was this girl I went to school with who used to give me shit for calling it butter. It was as though I was slandering the name of butter and all good things it represents by saying that tub of yellow vegetable oil spread was butter. Butter isn't holy. It heightens your cholesterol, clogs your arteries. I told her just the same, I think. If anything, it's the Antichrist to her imagined God. At least I can admit to the truth. I'm not a health nut. I keep in pretty good shape, but that's just because I don't have a lot to eat in my house. I'm on my feet all day at work, and I don't go out running very much. I will once in a while, but it is the dead of winter right now, so I don't. I'm also not a vegan or a vegetarian. They can claim a heightened understanding of the human condition if they want to, but I haven't met one vegan who isn't an asshole. Or maybe that's what I heard someone else say. In truth, I'm not sure I ever met a vegan, probably because I don't like to meet assholes. My phone started ringing that morning. It was my mother, just as I was chewing on my last bits of my buttered toast. It's as though she knew that my mouth wasn't about to be full, like she knew that I would have no good excuse for not answering the phone, like she knew that I would feel guilty for not returning her call last night, so I answered it. So you are alive. That's what she said. Imagine the most annoyed voice you can think of. Do you hear it? It is kind of snobbish, maybe with a bit of a British accent. It's not that I think the English are snobbish, but sometimes their voices can convey it better. My mother, however, is not British. Do you work today? I tell her I do. And then she says, how are you on groceries? What I really want to tell her is that me and groceries are okay. I tell her that I have enough. So she says, I'm taking you shopping tonight. Your father got a bonus this week, and I just feel like we have extra to spare. She doesn't want to sound too helpful all on her own. She thinks she has to hide her generosity behind a reason. She treats her nice side like most people treat their rude remarks or their bad behavior. You know what I mean. When they've had a bad day, they can be jerks to people, and it's just because they had a bad day, so people can forgive them. In the case of my dad, it's because the Detroit Lions lost again. If you know anything about the Detroit Lions, then you know my dad was always in a bad mood. My mother, anytime she wants to do anything for anyone, has to give herself a reason. This time it was because they had money to spare. God forbid they throw me a few dollars to buy groceries, not that I'd ask. My mother would hang this over my head as one of the most moments that she was actually kind for once. One day she'd say, hey, look what I did for you that one time, remember? And I'll remind her that she only did it because she had affection to spare in the form of a bonus check. I agree to meet up with her after work. We are going to go to a local grocery store rather than the Walmart I work at. They do have groceries, but it's kind of like shitting where you eat. I just don't like to eat the food that I stock on shelves. I throw on my coat and I get in my car and I drive. The drive to work is the worst. It's the main part of my day that is filled with dread on a consistent basis. Why? Well, because it's the drive to work. It's pretty simple. It only lasts 15 minutes, but it might as well be a half an hour. It's because I'm tired and I just don't want to be anywhere at that time of the day. Even though I don't like sleeping too much, it's still a pain in the ass to drive somewhere where you know you're not going to enjoy yourself. Because it's work. It's a job. I can enjoy myself. I choose not to most of the time. The other times I just can't. There's a song on the radio that I wish wasn't, but when I turn the dial, all the other stations are static, or are commercials, which can be worse than static, so I listen to it. I've heard it before, and I'll probably hear it again, unfortunately. I am open to new music, just not the same music over and over. It's like the radio bombards you like your friends to listen to a song, or to watch a movie that they just saw and that they love and that they just know you'll love, but you know you'll probably hate it if you watch, just because they've been terrorizing you about getting to watch it. I can't really remark back to the radio. I could, but I'd sound like a crazy person. I probably already sound like one. It is winter right now, so the roads are slick as hell. If you know anything about the winters in Michigan, then you know they are a force to be reckoned with. A blizzard is one thing, but having your entire week being with nearly a foot deep in snow, and then one day having none because the temperature rose so fast that the snow could hardly have time to keep, only then it snows the very next day like it had snowed for the entire previous week. You wonder why you don't just move, but then you remember that the weather keeps things interesting. I'd be bored living in a place where the weather was always pleasant. I would say I have it good where I live. The worst weather we get is torrential blizzards, and lately those haven't been happening too often. Except for this year. We do get tornadoes, but we're very close to Lake Michigan. I heard someone say that being so close to the lake, those wind funnels usually wind up touching down over water. Ice is what probably claims the most lives. I'm okay driving on it. Once in a while, the car will skid a little bit, like it wants to drive itself straight into oncoming traffic or into a ditch. It usually doesn't, but I just hold both hands on the wheel. If I died in a traffic accident, I guess that'd be okay. It makes sense. It'd be normal. No one would try to figure that out, especially this time of the year. Not that I want to die. I mentioned about disappearing before, and that's not about suicide either. There have been plenty of times that I've wanted to die, that I used to think the world would be a better place without me. Yet I never seriously considered slitting my wrist. I wasn't a cutter or anything. You know those teenagers, mostly girls, who had it so rough and couldn't deal with their emotions. They had it so rough that they made themselves bleed. I never ever did anything like that. I wasn't going to hurt myself on purpose when I was already prone to tripping up or banging my head on the door of a cupboard I forgot to shut. Those were accidents. I think if I ever did cut myself, I'd probably just go all the way. I read somewhere that more women attempted suicide, but more men succeeded. That does make sense. Men are more impulsive, aren't they? Impulsive or stupid. Feminism isn't my thing, so don't get me wrong. Women are as batshit crazy as men are stupid. Maybe that's not feminism. Feminism is about women's liberation, right? No, I'm not talking about feminism. And I'm not a lesbian either. Never tried it. As far as I know, I only like penis. I've only had sex with two people. One was Richard, the other was some guy at a bar. I'll tell you later. It's too early to be talking about cock or tits and all that stuff. And it's also been a while since I've done or had anything done to any of that, so I'd rather not think about it. The point is, I'm not a lesbian or a feminist or anything. I do like women's lib, and I'm eternally grateful for everything that generation did for us, of course. When I pull into the parking lot, I first look for that PT Cruiser that Katie Jensen drives. It is here today, and I already feel the day sinking into something I really hoped it wouldn't. I believe I mentioned something about being able to enjoy work if I really put in the effort, and other times where I just can't do that. If Katie is there, it's an excellent example of why that is. She's a pain in the ass. She doesn't have a bad attitude or anything. I guess she's kind of a sweet girl, but she talks all the time nonstop. I don't know if she has inner thoughts or not. If we end up in the same aisle where I'm unloading the box of macaroni and cheese and she's unpacking the cans of tuna fish, you can be sure she's talking to me. You ever have those people who just want to have someone to talk to? They want an open ear, and because they are talking, they expect you are listening? That's Katie. I'm not a rude person, so she'll stop what she's saying and ask me what I think about what she said. Usually it's about her father. He has cancer or something, or had cancer, actually. He's in remission, I believe. I didn't ask about it, but she let me know. It was exciting news, and I'm sure she wanted to let everyone know that she was doing alright. But then again, I didn't know he had cancer, so I would have assumed he was alright all the time. She's talking about that kind of stuff the other day. She asked me what I thought about cancer. It's a weird thing to ask. It's fucking cancer. It's a horrible thing. It's a foreign invader in the body attached to your insides. So I just tell her that I don't like it. And then she asks me why I don't like it. And then I tell her that it kills people. And then she says, well, cigarettes kill us. I'll kill people. And I tell her, of course. That's one example of her thinking. Then her little blue eyes go back in her head as she searches for more to talk about. And she lulls me into this safe state where I think I'll be safe from any more questions. Then she starts in on something again. So she asks me questions about it, like a pop quiz. And I'll bullshit my way through it and hope that I get the right answer. That's what Katie does to me at work. So I walk into Walmart through those big automatic doors, and there's this industrial area where the carts go. It's all gray and boring, and this big industrial fan is blowing up high degrees of heat onto my face. And I was cold, but now I'm close to sweating. It doesn't feel good. If I was skinny, I'd probably topple over, or if I was tan from sunbathing, I'd probably burst into flames. Or both, like a runaway toasted marshmallow blowing away in a high breeze on an autumn night. I haven't had marshmallows in ages, so I vowed to buy some after my shift. Our break room is in the back of the store past all the boxes of products. People are always walking around back there. The security cameras are in weird places. I'm sure they don't see every corner. I'm not a thief, but I fantasize. If I wanted to be one for one day, I could probably get away with taking one thing one time. To do any more would get you fired. Now, being fired from Walmart may be a blessing in the end, but that also means having to find another job. This means going to places to get applications, having to talk to people you don't want to talk to, having to call them up and bug them about looking at your application. I already don't like interacting with people, so why would I do something that would force me to do it more often? In the end, I don't steal and never have. Not for moral reasons, just because of the headaches it caused me. And that's where I'm going to stop right now. Um, so that's like 3/4 of the first chapter. Yep, that's on Amazon. If you want to look it up, it's How to Disappear Completely by Aaron. So if you can just find that, it's got like a broken windshield on the cover. And if you would like to check it out, that'd be great. It's only 99 cents. So my first book. So it's probably a little rough because I kind of had to edit it mostly myself. So I'm looking for editors right now for other projects. So yeah, go ahead and check that out, and I'll see you in a few days.